A couple weeks ago, I got a message saying, Tim, check the Gen G versus T1 game. Chovy played Aurora versus Faker's Orianna and he was 20 CS up. That doesn't really make sense. Orianna is supposed to counter Aurora. So naturally, I had to investigate it. And what I found honestly changed the way I think about laning. I didn't stop there though. I analyzed 15 more of his competitive games. And today, I'm going to share the biggest secrets that I learned. I've compiled the 10 most valuable insights I got from watching Chovy. I could be yapping away at his VODs for hours and hours on end, but I want to respect your guys' time as well. So we're just going to cover the most important fundamentals that he does. It's going to be a bit more advanced ones. There's going to be a bit simpler ones. If you guys have any questions, shoot them in the comments. We're going to start with how Chovy counters mages. And this is the first time I saw this. This is the Aurora vs Orianna VOD. And since then, all the other pros have started copying him because what he does, he basically gives Aurora a second wind D shield. Imagine that, guys. Second wind D shield on Aurora. How annoying is that to play? So what he does is he actually flips trading around. He reverse trades in a way. What you most of the times do is that you go for a minion and you trade your HP by CSing a minion because the enemies can then hit you while you're last hitting. Now, Chovy flips it the other way around. Chovy steps up forward, and what he's going to do is he's gonna let himself get hit and trade onto Faker's last hits, and he's actively trading his own HP for Faker's minions. And it works because, in this case, Orianna doesn't have the mana pool to beat Chovy in the early lane. Now, let me elaborate why that's the case. In this case, Aurora took Taste the Blood, Second Wind, Unflinching. This gives you basically infinite regeneration. He does take Doran's Ring, not the shield. It's not necessary, but the Second Wind, the Unflinching, and the Taste of Blood is already enough damage prevention and health regeneration for Chovy to just do whatever he wants in the lane. Unflinching is really good versus mages like Orianna, Syndra, because they CC you, and then this Unflinching gives you armor and MR. Per trade, it prevents like 3 to 4 damage. Now, maybe on 3 to 4 damage, it's not that much, no, but if you got Taste of Blood and Second Wind recharging you, it's just insanely valuable, and it nukes a lot of their trading power in the lane. And what you'll find is that in this case, Chovy's constantly stepping up onto these minions. He's not even laning well with his Qs. He's missing a lot of Qs. He's trying his best, but he's missing them because Faker's dodging well. But he's just winning from Faker in the sustain war because of the fact that he's got so many health regeneration tools. You see right here, he instantly steps up and he's actively trading his own HP. And Faker is laning pretty well, but he just doesn't have the tools to match up against Aurora's strong lane right now. Now, one of the other key things that Chovy does here is he actively abuses the concept of space in the lane. He is constantly pressuring Faker in his face. You see how deep that he's standing, and that means that Faker, every single time he wants to last it, needs to run into Chovy to get the minions, putting him in a position where it's easy to get landed by a skill shot, it's hard for him to manage the wave, and he's forced to lose a lot of minions under his tower. This is why Chovy is building these CS league. Chovy understands that HP equals CS basically. He understands that resources is what lane's all about. He's not fighting, he's constantly trading onto last hits. And he's doing such a good job that he's building an insane advantage over Faker. Another thing to note is that Chovy went for this setup, and what does he lack now? He doesn't have mana flow banned. Is that a problem? It's actually not. Because he has not used a single E or W in this lane. He's only used his Q, and therefore he stayed really high mana. Now, I talked about space, right? And how he's constantly stepping up to push the enemies off the wave whenever he has already lost hit his minion and they still need to last hit their minions. Now, he also does it the other way around. And this is the thing that changed my perspective on laning, because I always thought, okay, you need to slow push. You need to slow push because then you get lane control. But Chovy actually doesn't do that. Chovy doesn't slow push. What Chovy does is Chovy actually lets the enemies have the wave in a neutral position. He has more space to play upon the lane. So what he does right now is instead of running into the enemies and then taking space, he actually lets the wave be neutral, so they're slightly pushing towards him, so they need to take space into him. And that's powerful. With these minions dying, he can just zone them off creeps. It's crazy how powerful that is. The downside is that you lose a little bit of push, but that's okay if you are thinning out the minions well, and you can just easily take the minions before they get in. So you see how Zeka in this case is forced to use all of his spells onto the wave, preventing him to get a little bit of a good angle in lane. And we see it here again. Chovy is just thinning out the wave, and every single time that Zeka is forced to step up, you see where the wave state's located, right? It's closer towards his side. He's now nuking Zeka with trades, and you see that Zeka is just forced to drop creeps, constantly using his spells onto the wave, putting a lot of pressure onto Chovy. Space, minions dying right there. It's so unbelievably oppressive the way that he does that. And I've been practicing this in my own games as well, and I've won lanes harder than I've ever had before. Now what Chovy does really well is that when he does this strategy, you're gonna get yourself pushed in a little bit. That's okay. In the early game, you might find yourself in a position where you then run into a spot where you need to CS on the tower. But Chovy, the reason why he hits every single creep is because he's mastered his last hits breakpoints. This guy knows exactly when minions die and when minions don't die. What he did very intentionally here is he queued through the minions right here so that these are now low HP. And what happens when he does that is that he then collects them for free under the tower with his auto attacks without Talia being able to do anything about it. And he knows these breakpoints perfectly so that he can easily collect all the minions while still applying max pressure when it comes to trading. And therefore he's just winning the resource war constantly. Now this is one of my own games right here where I do it versus a wave. What I do is I just really slowly play and I don't over push the wave. And you see where the wave's now slightly ending up, slightly closer towards my side, making it super easy for me to harass him on this creep because he just used his Q. He now needs to step up, and this makes it so easy for me to harass him. And basically by not over pushing the wave, I'm already in a massive advantage here in the lane. It's really, really interesting how that works. And you see how he's just, because he's forced to step up for these minions, he's getting hit by me, leading me to be in a position where I can contest him so easily. Now I reach myself to level 2, I still fight for level 2, he uses QE, and all of these minions are just dying. And I don't have to step up all that far, I don't need to run into him, I actually let him come into me. And this is now, of course, the idea of taking up space, of course, means that you force the enemies to move into you whenever they need to last hit, making it easier for you to land your spells. That's the idea of space. This might be a little bit complicated for a lot of people, I understand. But if you prevent you needing to run into them at all, and you just let them run into you, you don't run into the risk of getting hit by their spells or misstepping. It's a lot safer, it's a lot easier, and you also have full control over the minion wave like this. It's not a freeze, it's just you use the space in the lane slightly differently. Instead of us pressuring Wei on the enemy side right here, we're now pressuring him in this spot, which is a lot safer. We don't get ganked all often, but most importantly, he is under a lot more threat walking up every single time. And it's just really, really threatening to verse. What we also got is space, more space. Everyone loves space. So one of the key things that Chovy is really good at is he's really good at creating space. Space, 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 space. As always, space, huh? What do we mean with creating space? When it comes to creating space is how do you actually put yourself forward? Okay, he's versus Faker again. Faker's gonna push him away from the minions as much as possible. Now what Chovy does is Chovy uses his abilities to create space. So in this case, he queues forward like this. And this forces Faker backwards. Otherwise he's gonna get hit by the minions. Now if Faker is forced backwards by this spell, what happens is that Chovy can now walk up to hit these minions as well. Insane. A lot of people on Galio, just to put it in perspective, would sit back, they wouldn't want to walk up, they would use their Q to last hit these minions. They maybe give the first one, they'd sit back, use the Q to last hit the minions, and do some creeps. What Chovy does, he pushes Faker back, granting him the other creeps as well. Insane usage of space creation using his own abilities. And you can of course also do that with, for example, Orianna Q. You can create space with that. You see the same story applies here. He creates space by using that Q, forcing Faker backwards, getting all the creeps. Now you may be wondering, why is he walking up here? What is creating the space right now? It's the looming threat of level 2. Knowing that Faker knows that he might get level 2 upon this wave, and he can either E at him, W at him. It's not good for Faker, because of the fact that Galio's got a lot of regeneration. Faker, in this case, Ryze does not. And now, once again, guess what we're going to do? We're going to Q Ryze. We're not going to Q the minions. Queuing Ryze, auto attack the wave. So many people would Q the wave only here, and they would miss the ability to deal damage to Ryze. It's really, really, really good. It's really, really, really good. Now another thing that Chovy actively does, he's actively redirecting minion aggro to get every single creep in the lane. Now the way that he does that is by, in this case, you see, okay, space on Ryze side. This is a mega lane state for Ryze. Insane lane state for Ryze. The way that Chovy fixes that is like by letting himself get hit once, so the minion aggro redirects. What do I mean with this, right? You see that in this case, this minion is getting nuked by all of these creeps. That means that this minion is dying before Chovy can do anything. Before that Ryze minion is dying as well. So that means that he's going to lose a creep. So Chovy intentionally lets himself get hit. Minion aggro swaps up onto Rise right now, covering these creeps for free. They don't get hit anymore. And guess what happens? He now can just sit back after getting hit. He only took a minimal amount of damage, regenerating with second wind. And he can now catch all of these minions for free under the tower right here. Or like these a little bit closer in the lane with his new cooldowns. And this was beautiful usage of redirecting aggro. He does it here again. Look at the cannon minion. He's getting absolutely blasted by all of these minions. But we're not going to lose the cannon. Chovy losing cannons? He does not like that. So he actually steps up, let himself get hit, and minion aggro re-swaps. And look at that. He gets the cannon for free with his next Q, which got off cooldown right now. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is reset cycling. And how this also has to tie in with space in the lane. We're yapping a lot about space, guys. It's unbelievable. Astronaut Tim here. So, what we're going to be doing is, this is a really losing matchup, okay? Whenever you're in a losing matchup, what you have to understand is that there's ways to minimize it. In this case, Orianna versus Azir, the main thing you have to understand is that the way you minimize this matchup is through offense as defense and through creating space in the lane. If you get yourself pushed in by Orianna, you're going to get nuked under the turret. So what Orianna's trying to do is, Orianna's trying to get the slow push here, just walk at you disrespectfully and poke onto you. Now Chovy knows this. What Chovy's going to do is he's going to flip the scripts. He wants to play offense as defense onto Orianna. He wants to push Orianna in, so she's forced to respond to the minions all the time, and he can just back away. He can then take up space with his soldier, put it deeper in the lane, and then walk backwards to basically create distance while he can still access the creeps, constantly forcing Orianna to respond to the wave, and therefore negating damage taken. Now, that's really hard to do in the first few levels because we're just not strong enough as Azir. So what Chovy does here is he lets himself get pushed in. And what he does as well is he trades onto Orianna. He is not shy to trade, and it's very important to trade right now. You see how much he's trading resources here? This is intentional why he's doing that, because he's already planning his first reset. Resets are really one of Chovy's best fundamentals. He's resetting the best out of any pro. And what he does is that he intentionally trades, and he's going to reset before Orianna. Now what happens when he resets before Orianna? He's going to be in lane before Orianna. And if he's in lane before Orianna, he can get the push on the next wave. So we're going to see it right here. He clears the minions. He's down a little bit CS. This is what it is. We take the reset right now. While coming back, we get dagger refill. Most importantly, we get the push on the next wave. So what he's going to do is he's now going to take up space in the lane. And he's going to basically always play with the mindset of forcing Orianna to run into him. Forcing Orianna to respond to his soldiers, his wave. He does not hard push. He slow pushes. Because he now gets a small minion advantage. Orianna uses his Q. See what Chovy does. Steps up aggressively. Right, puts the soldier in the center of the lane so he can always out-attack it. He can kite back. Orianna uses Q again. Steps up, takes space in the lane. And we now got into a reset cycle. You see how the tables have turned. The lane is completely shifted. And what we got right now is a position in which we are slowly in control. And we prevent Orianna from freely thinning out the wave. But because constantly whenever she uses her spells, we walk up and we make sure to create space in the lane. We don't push too fast. We don't push too slow. So the wave is always in this nice position. And eventually we manage to crash it. And we see that he's taking up space as much as possible. And therefore it's really hard for Orianna to actually land her spells. See Orianna use her spells right here. We instantly start hitting the next wave and hitting the Orianna to do the exact same thing. We get space in the lane right now, making it hard for Orianna to hit. And what we see is she uses her cooldown to match our push. And instantly we step up into the lane and therefore pushing her back, creating space, getting a good W soldier angle right here. And you see how he's now minimizing all forms of aggression from Orianna. Orianna is way stronger than Azir right now, but she can't trade because she doesn't have the space to get close to Azir. And right now he takes a beautiful trade, dodging out on Orianna's spells. And it's just the exact same principle. We just push the wave, we get the push prio again. And what we do is we take the space in the lane, making it impossible for her to harass us properly. And you see that this bad matchup is now turned into an even state because we're both farming. We're taking slightly winning trades, which leads to us eventually getting into the position where we're winning as Azir because, of course, we skill harder than Orianna. This is the power of a reset cycle. Resetting before the opponent, then taking up the slow push and taking up space in the lane can minimize bad matchups because you can prevent the enemies dealing damage to you because you got the minions defending yourself and you can take up space in the lane while the enemies aren't there just yet, allowing you to get through the lane unscathed. Now, one thing that Chovy likes to do is if he has teleport up, he likes to reset cycle on a cannon. And there's a very good reason why that's the case. So in this case, we're laning versus Zeka Azir. He had a really bad early lane. His levels 1 to 4 were just not good. He missed a lot of spells. Zeka just outplayed him in the micro, and Zeka therefore got a good spot in the lane. Now, Ziggs works like most control matches. Wants to get heavy push in the lane. So what he does is he does a reset cycle, but he does it very interestingly on a cannon minion. And what happens when he does that on the cannon minion is that Azir now is struggling to get this next wave in, because it's a cannon minion, right? So what happens is that he actually holds the wave right here. And this doesn't work post level 8 anymore, because people just nuke the wave from that point. But he holds the wave right now. He trades his HP to hold the wave like that, and he pushes Azir off. And what he's basically doing is he's trading his HP for Azir losing this entire wave. Azir is going to lose this entire wave. That's the power of a reset cycle on a cannon, is that we can now put ourselves in a position where we trade our HP for a little bit of experience. And what he's going to do right now is he's going to use this experience lead that he's got to force a new winning position in the lane. And this is where he starts outplaying Zeka insanely hard, is that he now gets a little bit of control in the lane because he's going to reach his level a little bit earlier. And what he does, he's going to hard force a trade at that moment. So he reaches level 6, and what he does is he keeps trading onto Azir. He's now in a position where he's going to do a win-win reset bait. He's got the wave out really fast. And what happens right now is that the next minion wave, in this case, is once again a cannon minion, okay? So we can either do the exact same thing where we deny him the entire wave, or he now needs to stop us. And that's going to allow us to take a trade. So this is a win-win reset bait. What happens is that this shoulder spots Ziggs. So he's intentionally resetting on vision here. And what he does is he lets Zeka tank all of these minions because he nuked it really fast. Zeka needs to tank these minions, take damage, or he can get the free reset in which Zeka can't outpush. So this is a win-win reset bait. Now Zeka is going to cancel him. He has to cancel him. If he doesn't cancel him, Chovy wins the lane with the lane state. But what happens is that Zeka cancels him. Chovy goes for a bit of a trade right here because Zeka's already tanking the minions right now. And he takes this beautiful, beautiful trade. Even ults Azir right here. And now what we do is we do the exact same thing. Is we just nuke the next minion wave onto these creeps. And we force Azir to now play without information. So this was a genius rotation. Now what Chovy does is Chovy now goes for a fake reset. And he's just completely outplaying Zeka with the resets here. Because what happens is that Zeka now is either forced to reset, or what happens is that Zeka's forced to push the next wave, in which that he's going to be risking getting ganked by Pantheon. He's going to maybe not even get it on time. So he's kind of forced to match this reset. But what Chovy now does is he actually counts to 8, because that's the reset timer. And maybe counts to 9. He slightly stays longer outside of vision, waits for Zeka to reset, stays in the lane right here, pushes the extra wave. And what happens if he does this is that now Zeka loses more creeps under the turret. So this was just a genius rotation of early lanes. So what happens is that Zeka loses like 3 creeps under turret again. Absolutely insane by Chovy. And he was behind in the isolated lane, but now he's actually like 7 or 8 CS ahead because he played his resets so much better than Zeka. Now, the final thing, right, which is a really fun thing to note, is that Chovy is an absolute CS addiction. Like, it's really interesting. And don't do this at home, guys. This is just something that works in competitive play. And it just shows his mindset really well. And I'll show you right here. Now, he has the wave pushing in. And he's now trying to CS these creeps. And this creep just barely doesn't die to his E. And what happens is that he actually tries to ult to secure it. And maybe people are wondering, it's crazy he does this in Gen G chili, right? It's crazy he does this. But this is how much he values every single minion. And he knows that in the next 80 seconds, there's no play happening because the objectives timers are not there. So he's willing to ult for a minion, 1 minion, if he knows that he doesn't need it in the next 80 seconds. Insanity. He actually has a CS addiction. This guy is nuts.